To start, can you tell me a little about your background and what you did before you started investing in real estate?
Sure. So I worked in the fashion industry, believe it or not, for 18 years in New York City and in New Jersey. So my job, the last 12 years, I was with a company called BB. However, they closed last year. They're online only. But I was their district manager for the state of New Jersey. And I graduated from Delaware State University, and I majored in business management and fashion merchandising. So I was in fashion forever.
Yeah. So when BB closed, why did you decide to start investing?
You know what? It was really something I was always passionate about. I always was passionate about design and decorating homes. I have this obsession with HGTV. I've been watching it for over 20 years.
What are your favorite shows?
Flip and Flop, for sure. I still love Christina and Tark, although they're divorced. And Chip and JoJo is like, they're my favorite. She just really rocks the farmhouse style. Like, she does it best. And I like the Property Brothers as well. But I like everyone. I think I learn a little bit from everyone, each style, everyone's design.
Yeah.
You can't learn enough and see enough of that stuff to me.
Yes. So what sort of changed you? Because a lot of people obviously watch those shows and never start investing. So what was it that inspired you to actually get started?
Well, I just wanted to have a change, and I wanted to be my own boss and start my own business and really go after my passion and what's in my heart. I think I always have had a gift for design, being able to walk in a house and say, okay, let's knock this wall down, let's do this, let's do that. So I just wanted to follow my passion. Of course, I had a lot of job offers when they closed, but I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go with my heart, start my own business and my own company and do this full time because I really love it.
And how long have you been involved with real estate?
So I've been on and off for a while. I purchased my first piece of real estate back in 2005. It was a home for me to live in. And then back then, you can purchase like 2 or 3, you know, and I also purchased an investment home at that time too. And that's when I knew, like, you know, I was really into this because I redid both of the houses, and it was really fun and therapeutic, actually. And I also had 2 rental properties, so I was a landlord for a while, for about 7 years. But I started my initial company that I have now late 2015.
That's so impressive that when you go to buy your first house, you decide to also buy an investment property.
I know, like, let's get 2.
Yeah,
but
why not?
You can't do that. Yeah, back then you could do that. Yeah.
Yeah. With your first investment project, what did you do to prepare?
Actually was enrolled in this program called the Mastery Program with Fortune Builders. So the guy, Fan Merrill, I think he was an ex-football player from Flip That House. That's his program. So it was excellent. And I'm certified in wholesaling, certified in rehabbing. I would go to work. I would go online. It was a 6-month program, you know, really study, look at the videos, and then I would go out to workshops. He has workshops all over the place, all over the world, and just really learn and partner and have mentors to really learn the business. So I think what prepared me the most is just going to that program. It was pretty amazing.
So can you tell me about your first investment project?
So it was really successful. So believe it or not, I was working as the district manager, and let me tell you something, Hannah. I had like 13 stores, 300 employees. It was really crazy, up and down the highway and the turnpike and the parkway, and I still managed to flip a house on the side. I just did it on the side. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Yeah. And I got my first property. The owner was losing it, actually. So I remember the purchase price was $120, and I ended up putting rehab about $140 into it, and then I sold it for $390. And it was a really pretty house, and it was big. My first project was big. The house was about 3,000 square feet, and it was 3 bedrooms. And when I first walked in, I was like, oh, my God, this is a disaster. Like, the dog urine was all over the place. This house was horrible. So then my realtor, she goes, no, this is not the house. I'm like, this is the house, because I saw the bones. I saw the vision. Yeah. So it was 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a half bath. So in the area that I flipped in, these homes are really big, historic, has a lot of character. So it had like the hardwood floors. It had the bones, you know, the molding, a lot of character. And it had the square footage. So I turned it into 5 bedrooms. I utilized the unused attic space. I created a master suite. And the first level was just open concept. I opened every single wall and just made it huge, added another bathroom, half bath down there.
Yeah.
And this house is so beautiful because it had like a wraparound porch, a huge yard. It was built in the 1950s, so I wanted to keep the character and the charm, and I just really added what the trends and the modern designs was. And I think that's why.
What do you think you learned from that project? So going forward, did you change the way you went into new projects at all, or did you stick with that strategy?
I changed a lot, actually. Back then, I didn't know a lot about construction. So I really learned, I mean, I never lifted a sledgehammer, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I will probably never do the work, but at least I know and I really clearly understand what the contractor should be doing. The biggest part was learning the construction. But getting the house at a low price is key, making sure we stick to the budget, and then appealing to the buyer, not, what I want personally is important.
Yeah. So do you have any tips for investors who might struggle in working with the construction or working with contractors about how to do it better?
Make sure that you have like a detailed scope of work so you can stay on deadlines. And in your drawer schedules, have dates. Although things come up, you still want to have dates and try to stick as close to the dates as you can. Just have everything detailed and really plan it out. Don't rush. Get a few bids from different contractors. Do your walkthrough. If you need help, I'm fortunate enough I don't have to hire a designer, but if you have to hire a designer so that you can do it right. And manage your contractors, but be professional and be polite but firm, and make sure they're on top of the deadlines. Okay,
do you have another maybe notable project that was really challenging or successful or exciting that you would want to talk about?
I had a project, like my last project, I wouldn't say challenging. I think that the project overall was very smooth, but sometimes you can't control things. There's a lot of things, I tell new flippers that you can't control. You can't control the city, what they're going to say, what their decision is, and sometimes you can't control the buyers. They get emotional. They have the house under contract, and then they get cold feet, and then it's not under contract. You can't control the city. You can't control the buyers, and a lot of unforeseen things. So you just have to come up with solutions. That was the most challenging project for me because I was expecting it to go at a certain time, like as usual, on point, on schedule, and then I'd meet this planning board, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go back again, and I have to go back again, and I need another surveyor, I need another architect. So that was unexpected, and that was a learning for me, like a lesson, but it was also a challenge because it delayed me from selling the property, months. I'm talking about, 4-month delay, and that's huge. Yeah. So that's the challenge. So always think in the back of your mind, it may take longer when you're dealing with a planning board or even buyers who are really emotional or unsure. So you have to plan for that. So what I do, I make sure that I get houses way undervalued if I can, try to really have the design as a high-end design look, but stay within the budget so that I have room because anything can happen. That project went almost 4 months over, but I was still able to make quite a, 6 figures profit, quite a bit of money because I stuck to the design plan and I got the house at a cheaper cost.
So clearly you're very good at coping with these unexpected things and staying on budget and more or less on time. A little goes on naturally. But do you think that has to do with your background in business or more with just the way?
Absolutely. I think it's my background because, I've been with corporate America forever, 18 years. BB was very structured, very organized. My district alone, just imagine, on average I had 13 stores. Just managing all those different people, and I had 30 managers right under me, and $60 million, Hannah, in volume annually. I think just being organized, structured, working with people, and having that fashion background is what I think has made me successful. I don't really get frazzled when things don't go according to plan. I just really come up with solutions. That's the most important thing. Okay, what's the solution? So one example I can tell you, something simple. Say if we're over budget in something and we were going to tile, say, the whole entire bathroom or the whole shower. Instead of tiling the whole shower in mosaic tile, maybe we just do a band and then we save money here. There's so many ways that you can save money in design when something goes over, like with electrical or plumbing. It's okay to adjust and have change orders, but you just have to be calm and work together with your contractor, communicate, and come up with solutions.
Could you tell me a little about your project on Myrtle Ave?
I purchased that one for $107, and the rehab was about $115, and it's actually under contract. This is a perfect example of something that I've been waiting to close forever. But we're under contract for $350. We close in 2 weeks. I can't wait. I'm going to do cartwheels when we close. But it was an older home built in 1921. So, again, it has, like, a lot of character. And when I purchased it, it was really dark with the wood paneling, super dirty, choppy floor plan, bathroom in the kitchen, which is so old school. So basically, we had to fix everything. We added a deck off the living room floors. I believe in adding more windows, more doors for lighting. I believe that you need to add sizzle features. It has a beautiful fireplace, so we put the stacked stone on the fireplace. I always put farmhouse sinks in kitchens, even though it's not required. It's a little bit more money, but in this particular house, I put a stainless steel farmhouse sink. This makes the buyers go like, oh, my God, a barn door, or, you know, a farmhouse sink, stacked stone. They're really into it. They get emotionally attached and connected to the house, I think, when you add these sizzle features into the house. We just made it light, bright, white kitchens. You know that, Hannah, is a huge trend with the stainless steel appliances and the granite corks countertops. I kept the floors dark. And we went with gray. Like lately, we're going with a lot of gray and white versus a few years ago where they went with like a lot of natural and beige tones. The gray and white is good. It's really airy now. It's beautiful. It has a nice flow. It's a beautiful home.
Okay, so I see that your appraisal initially was $305, right? You said it sold for $350?
Yes.
Do you have any idea what made it sell for so much more than you expected?
I think it's the design. I follow the trend of what I know the mass buyers like and want, not what I want, what they want, and I think that's what really drives the price up.
You're one of the flippers who's probably the most of an expert on design. So, you know, with houses, you don't want to make it too unique because then people aren't going to want it, but you want it to stand out. So you mentioned the farmhouse features, but what other suggestions do you have that make a home stand out?
So I do keep it subtle as far as the colors. They are neutral, but they're just shades of gray, really light pale grays or shades of white. You can't go overboard. So you want to keep the colors as neutral as possible. Keep the floors original. I always say that if you can, and just stain them. Watch these shows on HGTV. Go to other open houses and see what's in the area. In this particular area, a lot of the houses, they're more antique looking. They're more farmhouse style. So instead of me doing the same exact, you know, antique farmhouse look as all the other houses that we go to, I make it a little bit modern because they don't have that. So the inventory is scarce for what, you know, the modernized houses a lot of people want. So when they see it, they want to get it right away because it's not a lot of it. So I just say, you know, keep it neutral. Add some sizzle features. Don't go overboard. Always stay within your budget. But what we do, I used to shop in Lowe's. I used to shop in Home Depot. But I'm like, I'm in love with the store floors and decor now. I also shop on Amazon. If the budget for the vanity is $500, you can get another vanity for $500 that may be a different gray tone or a different look than that same vanity that's in Home Depot or Lowe's. Because the buyers are going to all these houses and they're looking at the same design, the same vanities, the same stuff. So get something a little bit unique but still subtle that's going to appeal to the masses, the broad buyers.
All right, can you tell me about the project you're currently working on?
I'm just sitting in front of it right now, Hannah. It's so funny.
Oh, really?
I didn't close on it. I'm supposed to close the end of next week. It's a smaller home, smallest home I've ever worked on. It's about 1,600 square feet, and I'm used to working in houses 3,000, maybe even 4,000 square feet. But it's charming. It's on a really nice, quiet street. What's important, what I like about this block, it's next to the train station because a lot of the buyers in this area are coming from New York City, so it's really convenient. So I think the location for me is what really drew me to this particular house. Inside is small, and the bedrooms are a little bit smaller than what I'm used to, but I'm going to open up the whole entire first floor to make it, you know, light, bright area and appear to be bigger. And I'm going to utilize the unused attic space to add another bedroom. So it's a cute, charming house, but it's in a really good location in an area where they're really revitalizing. So I think it would be great for a first-time home buyer.
You mentioned on your first project you used the attic space, and on this one you did too. Is that something you frequently do?
Yes, I try to use every single inch of the house that I can and make it into some type of living space. For example, on the last project, the home was so big and they have what they call maid stairs. The maid stairs used to go down into the kitchen, so the maids can only go access it that way. So I just took them out, I removed them, and I made a big, huge pantry. So everywhere that you see that you can make extra space, you know, you make it. It's a shame that we have attics that are 200, 300 square feet, and they're not being utilized. So that's something that I always do. And I do the same thing with the basements. I try to finish them if I can, frame out a utility room so all the utilities are in one area so that everything else is open for the buyers to add additional living space to.
Can you tell me a little about what your investment strategy would be and how has it changed since you started?
Right now, I'm flipping. So I have a goal. I wanted to do 2 more flips this year. My ultimate goal is to own apartment buildings. Flipping is fun for me. I just love it. To me, I think it's really helping the community out a lot. To go on a block and see just that one house that has been sitting for years, for me it's really rewarding to fix that up because you help the neighbors, you help the community, you bring new families in. So I think I'm always going to flip as long as I can, but it does take a lot of time and energy. But the ultimate goal is to own rental income and just have that passive income coming in, you know, so you can travel and do whatever you want to while your house is making money for you. Yeah. So my strategy is to flip 3, buy 1, flip 3, buy 1, and I want to buy typically 4 families and higher. But, you know, you never know. Hopefully I can get lucky and find like a 10-unit or 20-unit building or something like that. Yeah. So for now, flipping generates pretty good bulks of income, but every time I flip, I put the money away and then to buy a rental property.
While you're working on these homes, how often do you visit them? And I know you said you've never held a sledgehammer, but is there any work you do yourself?
The only work that I do myself is really the staging at the end. Everything else I do except for the construction, like all the loan, finding the homes, working with the realtors, house hunting, everything else. I walk the contractors through everything. I do all the design, and when I'm done, I do all the staging.
And how often do you visit the properties?
Now, probably once or twice a week during, like, the roughing stage and demo. You know, I don't have to come as often. But once they start putting in the finishes, I'm here probably 3 to 4 times a week just checking, because it's really important that, you know, they're putting the right tile in the right place, and a lot of things start to happen, and it could be some snags that happen when you start putting cabinets in. So I'm here quite often.
Usually, do you have work going on simultaneously, or will you complete the work on one and then start another?
Okay, so now I'm starting to do it simultaneously. At first, I did not, because, you know, I was just really learning it and really understanding everything. As soon as I close on one, I would just pick up another one. But now I feel like, you know, I've done it a few times. I really understand it. I have the skill set, a system. So now I'm going to be working on multiple at the same time, probably 2 to 3 for now at the same time until I create a team. But I do need to hire more people so that I can work on maybe 5 or 6 at the same time, which is definitely in the cards.
So, you know, what advice do you have for someone who's new to flipping?
Definitely to buy the house at a great price and find your niche. Know what's good for you. My niche, I know, is I love 1 family. It's not that I wouldn't do 2 families or 4 families. Just find your niche and what you're comfortable in and what you're an expert in and what you're great in. And my advice is to really do it with passion and do it with love. Analyze everything that you do. Really plan it out. Really strategize. Always get 2 to 3 bids from different contractors. The money will come, because a lot of people get into flipping because, oh, it's so much money, but it is a huge job. It's a lot of work. The money will come. So you don't want to do it for money. You want to do it for the community. It's rewarding for me to hand over the key to a buyer, and they're like, oh, my God, this is so beautiful. It's their dream home. My advice to them is really understand your market. You have to know everything about construction, although you may not lift the sledgehammer. You have to know about design and what the trends are. You have to understand all of that stuff first before you get into flipping. And then if you can get into a program like Fortune Builders, or if you can't afford a program like that or you don't have time, maybe partner up with someone who's done it already. Because when I first started, for me to get hard money, it's hard. At first, of course, they want to invest in people who have been experts, and, it's hard to get some hard money and you've never done a flip before. But don't give up. Anything you lose, you turn it into a lesson. Don't give up. Don't get discouraged. If you really love it, if you love what you do, you're going to be successful. That's my advice.